Okay, we're just going to go ahead and get started. I call to order this work session of the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors. Our first item of business is to discuss board goals. As you guys can recall, the board retreat, we discussed board goals for this year. In the packet, you will find some goals drafted based on the discussions from the board retreat. Would anyone like to start a discussion? Questions? Oh, yes.
So, yeah, I read over the goals, and the only comment that I have, I think, is the wording for will, maybe strive to or seek to, instead of will just sounds like it's you've got to do it, command kind of thing. And, you know, we all know this is volunteer, you do what you can as you can. So I'd like to see the wording change.
Okay. That's a good one. Boards will strive. Yeah. I like that one too. Able to, which I know this past school year, I did see a lot of faces, you know, in engagement at HSD functions or, you know, city functions or community involvement, so that was great. Any other comments, suggestions? Does this look good to all of you?
I think it looks good, and it captures, I think, what was discussed during our board retreat. Thank you for who drafted this.
I think it was a Rose and Andrea. No?
I think
Beth.
that is
Beth.
way better so.
Yes. Yeah, I like this. I think in our agenda meeting, I had seen this, and I was like, maybe we should stick to this for a while. I think these are just kind of basic standard things that, you know, what the board should be doing, and that way we don't consistently, you know, try to think of other goals to do, but this is just a good guide, especially, you know, this coming May of next year, we'll have an election, and so I think these are just great standard goals to have. So, any other questions from our online board members? Good? Okay. Always good.
I like mood exchange. I'm good.
Okay. That was Mark. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so then we will go ahead, and our next agenda item is to discuss board superintendent working agreements. There was only a few minor changes in the one that we already had that were suggested in the package. So if there's any comments or questions on those changes, we will open up for discussion. I think those were just changes of names on the positions, correct? Yeah.
It was more edits rather.
Okay. Questions on this one? No? Wonderful. Okay, so then there's no comments or questions on this. We'll move to the next.
One quick question.
Yes, Mark?
So the red is what's being struck and the gray is what's being added, right? Just to be clear. It's got a little line through it.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so our next agenda item is our district financial officer, Michelle, would give us an update on our budget.
I'm searching for a pen quickly so I can take any notes or questions that you might have. But thank you, Jordan. Yeah, we are going to spend a little bit of time on a budget update tonight. I just want to kind of circle back to our report that we had in August. Kind of briefly at that time, gave you an update on the challenges we were having with 23-24 and how they impact us moving forward. And so I just want to bring kind of us back to that conversation because it is material and it is going to impact us this year. And so I want to be sure and get your questions answered, and have the same information that's out in the community. Go ahead, Kara, thank you. So tonight there's, in the slide deck, you're going to see links to some materials and references that you can use to kind of monitor what's going on with our budget, our financial report. This is on top of the monthly cash flow report that I give you every month. We do have a Budget Matters website, which Beth is really the main driver in keeping that current when it comes to revenue forecast for the state and how that may or may not impact us in Hillsboro. I'm going to give you an update on 23-24, what it's looking like now for 24-25, and then kind of a little preview at the upcoming biennium. Very similar to what you heard into the retreat, but I have a little bit more detail I want to share with you. So this information was actually on your situation page that was included in the board packet. Just want to talk about, as we are entering back into our schools, talking with our principals about building carryover, things like that. We're back at the bargaining table with our partners, that the budget is an influence in those conversations, and so that's part of the reason why we're here today, making sure that you're aware of where we are. And here's our budget context. This is a slide I'm sure I've probably shared during our budget development process, but again, just bringing it back to the top for you guys so that it's easy to think about. K-12 funding in the state, once it's set, appropriation level for K-12 for a biennia, and we're in the second year of a biennia, regardless of the economic performance of Oregon, we're going to have the same amount of funds available to K-12. We are experiencing the expiration of an awful lot of federal support from the ARPA, ESSER, and ARPA funds. And in that, we had spent the last couple years with a lot of additional supports for our schools and the ability to buy things that we typically wouldn't have the ability to buy. So that's something that you might be hearing about that's not even directly connected to what's happening with our general fund, but it is definitely impact to our building. We're having an impact to revenue as enrollment declines. I think we're starting to flatten out, maybe not to grow, but flattening out in that decline. But what occurred to us in 23-24 was an adjustment for the prior year enrollment decline that we hadn't planned on. A reminder that our fund balance target is 4%. That's a long ways from what a lot of districts around us maintain. This board has always really tried to focus on keeping the dollars in the system while we have them, and that's terrific, but it doesn't give us very much flexibility if things are occurring in a negative pattern throughout the year. Our budget is 82% payroll and benefits, so it's a service business, and any impact to the revenue side of the equation or challenges with the expenditures means that we have to make changes likely in staffing because that's where the bulk of the budget is. And our budget assumptions, when we were developing the 24-25 budget, it was based on the most recent actual year that we had in terms of expenses, and that was 22-23. And so we carried that into 23-24, and now that we have actuals for 23-24, we have to make some adjustments for our 24-25. And then I shared this before as well, but negotiated items, excess of the budget assumptions, are going to create a further deficit in our budget, and we have to adjust for that. Thanks, Karen. This is a high-level preliminary summary, and I say that because we are still kind of working out 23-24, our actuals. We're still kind of paying those bills and recording that, both revenue and expenditure at this time. It usually takes us a couple months to do that. We have a full quarter of our expenditures for the district happen in June. So with the way our payrolls work out and our bills, typically, a lot can happen in June that isn't easily predicted. On the revenue side of our budget equation, we had a significant negative state school fund adjustment in May for the prior year enrollment. I think I mentioned that. And then that means we need to adjust our assumptions for 23-24. So if we had planned to have a flat line for enrollment for 23-24, and that's also coming in lower than expected, we'll have another adjustment this May, very similar to that. The areas that we were over budget, regular salaries, extended contracts, all of the associated payroll costs that are about 35% for each dollar we spend on salaries. We were very much over in substitutes and then out of district tuition. So that's all kind of summed up in our response to really making a big effort to support our teachers, to try and be well staffed. We had a much higher availability of substitutes than we've had the prior year. All of those things created over expenditures in those areas. Yes.
Explain a little bit more about the out-of-district tuition. So how does that work? Because I think that would be revenue coming in.
Yeah, those are more like high intensive placements for students that need to be like in an occupational therapy situation in order to access their education. I know that both Brooke and Audrey can speak more to that than I can, but we did have a significant uptick that we didn't plan for necessarily going into 23-24.
You said that we had more availability of substitutes. But is like the absenteeism, it was the same? It's just that now we had more availability, or?
We had higher absenteeism. We had more staff accessing leave under the new leave laws, so that was impactful. But in that, we were able to offer the staff that were staying and covering for absent staff, they received additional compensation if they were able to do that. And for just the sub availability in 23-24 compared to 22-23, when we were dispatching people, we just couldn't find stuff. Those created pretty good spike in those costs.
I'm just thinking about like trends, if how we start kind of budgeting for that. That's going up, or how do we up that amount as a potential area where we see that cost increase for us? And so that was one thing of note. The other thing I wanted to ask about, and I heard this in our the mobile health opening that we had. I was having a conversation about the ability to now bill like insurance companies for services that we provide. How does that
I think that the student health center would operate separate from us. We have been piloting and trying to expand our Medicaid billing for services. It's not been a smooth process for it, but I'm really proud of the team that we have that continues to try and move that forward, because there are other districts that is a significant revenue stream for them that needs to be turned back into services, right? So we're working on that for sure, trying to get that going. That's been in, I want to say, since 21-22.
Okay.
I think pilot year.
I was just thinking how some of those costs via that method. I didn't know how that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good whole nother conversation. We're doing both arms of Medicaid billing. One is direct billing for services, and the other one is called the Medicaid administrative claiming, where we have a select pool of staff members that complete a survey based on some of the activities that they do that allows us to get some funds back as well. And we're working on both of those right now.
Can I comment on the first couple comments that Erica made? A couple of the first comments you made are really important, and I was just going to follow up. The first one about the sub availability being a big cost for us. One of the ways Michelle explained it to me was that when we were having a sub shortage and a crisis in filling sub jobs, it actually, on the flip side, saved us a lot of money. The good part now is that we got plenty of subs coming into the system to serve in our classrooms, but it costs us more money, especially as we take more leave. There's a celebration there and a funding issue for us. And the second part of what you said is important too, is how do we account for the increased cost of folks being on leave? We've talked with COSA and with the governor's office about how paid leave Oregon is a benefit to families, and the cost for schools has been that we have to fill those vacancies. So if someone's on leave, we can't just leave a classroom unoccupied by an adult. And so we're having to pay more and budget more for substitute costs. And that's something that is happening. That's a conversation going into the legislative session at the state level, because we're not alone in the fact that we have subs and we have higher absentee rates than before. You kept saying really good things. Oh, the other part about reimbursing the school district, part of it's Medicaid billing. Another part of where we pay for the service of students is in what we call high cost disability. So another conversation right now is that right now we're compensated about 40 cents on the dollar for a student who has a high cost disability that we serve. And another way that we would like to be able to recoup for that cost would be for the to reimburse us 90 or 100% on those high cost disability cases. So sorry, those are just good bullet points that you were talking through that I wanted to follow up on. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Travis. I do think those are going to be unifying points across all school districts that make it them understand the impact of some of the discussions and decisions that are being made. I see Mark has his hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, so to Travis's point, we have been talking about that in our license bargaining, the Medicaid bill. So I think there's a lot of possible Medicaid billing that lower my hand. Okay. That can take place outside of the school-based health center. So that's a thing that, to Michelle's point, other districts are availing themselves that we may not be to the fullest extent. The list on the previous slide, so I had a similar question to Monique's. The out of district tuition is not us covering students who come here. It's us when we have to place most likely a special education student someplace else, like with Northwest Regional ESD for services or things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that clarification. And like this list of 5, is it fairly comprehensive, or is this just the big numbers? Like, is out of district tuition listed at 5th because that's the 5th most thing we're over on, or does that feel like we spend a substantial amount of our unexpected budget on that?
Well, Mark, these were the areas of the budget that we were most over in our expenditure. So, not in necessarily any order. We were over in other areas and we were under in other areas. I just wanted to give you guys kind of a high level of the areas that were more expensive than what we had planned for significantly.
Oh, so all these 5 are significant overages.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And how does this track with previous years over expenditures?
Every year we look at the previous year and try to forecast out past the year we're in. Mm-hmm. So the impact of these in 23, 24, on the next slide, we kind of talk about 24, 25, and how our assumptions for 24, 25 have to be adjusted based on what happened in 23, 24. That's why I felt it was very important to bring this to you guys. So in that, our adjusted revenue assumptions for this year based on enrollment. So again, just really tracking closely so that we don't have those big swings in May for the prior year, making sure that ODE has our correct information. Adjusting expenditure assumptions based on 23, 24, just like we talked about, those areas were beyond historical trends in terms of expenses, and so we do need to adjust for that. What that means for us is our 24-25 budget is not currently balanced. So I don't have an exact number today. I know Audrey is just looking at me like, oh, just me. I don't have it today. I hope to have better information to you as we bring our financial report forward. But knowing early on that it's not balanced and that we need to start implementing some activities to kind of bring in our spending. I know Saida's been working hard with her team. I know Jordan, I'm going to be working closely with HR too. But really trying to make sure that we're maximizing the revenue that's available to us and really pinning down the expenditures that, that we have flexibility without impacting the student experience this year. That's really our focus, is how do we preserve that while we make some mid-year adjustments in our budget. So there is more information forthcoming. I want you guys to be informed so that you can answer questions that come up from people. Mark, yes.
So past 15 years or so, or at least a decade, we have generally dealt with reduction in workforces by people retiring. Now, the school year's already started. You're saying we're out of balance. Are we so substantially out of balance that we may have to make changes in staffing over the course of this year?
Potentially. Yes, potentially. I would recommend maybe a staffing freeze or some semester changes. Again, that's kind of our last resort, Mark. I really do want to explore some other options first.
Yeah, I know it's a last resort, and fewer people, no matter where they are, impact students. I've been somewhat proud to be part of the group in Hillsboro that hasn't had to eliminate positions like many other districts have over the course of the last, 15 years. So, I'm very interested to see. Yeah, I know you don't have numbers today, and I'm with Audrey going, just tell me the number. But also, I get that we don't have it. And I'm just, the sooner we can find out if it's a big out of balance or just like a minor out of balance that we can probably accommodate for, that's going to be help. I mean, the board didn't have a whole lot of actual official jobs, but the budget's one. And right, it's a big, hearing that we're out of balance for the upcoming year is very concerning to me. I'm sure everybody.
I was just wondering, are we going to keep this in the front of our mind for the collective bargaining team? This is going to be another reason why we can't do what we're being asked to do, as far as we're being asked to go. And I think this is another reason for us to hold the line, because ultimately we could end up having to impact staff, and we don't want to do that. But if we give up any kinds of increases that we simply can't afford, knowing right now that we are not bound, that's not good. I just want to make sure that that is on the bargaining team's mind at all times.
I plan to share this information with the bargaining teams as well. I shared with HCU last week, and we haven't begun with ETA yet. And Mary Kay and Angela, I'd love to meet with you guys if you want to review this and have questions for me as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a reality that impacts everybody. I have a couple of cute charts in here per my superintendent's request. We have some cost trends you can see that we're going to compare with some enrollment trends, just to kind of give you an idea. And this is just the general fund. This doesn't include any federal support or the student investment account or Measure 98. This is just what's happening in our general fund. So you can just see over time. I can't see it from here, but okay. Kind of what we're seeing, and then what areas we're seeing growth in. So where we're kind of trying to keep a lid on supplies and materials. We have other things in terms of salary, and again, for every dollar in salary, we're spending 35 cents in payroll costs. So that's those first two big bands. Purchase services. everybody costs more for everybody. So when we need to have work done for us of any type, those costs have increased as well. And again, the availability of substitutes has increased that area of our budget, Object 300, as well. So that's the cost trends, Chair. Thank you. Thank you. Mark?
Sorry, I'm back. You figure it's about a budget presentation. You're going to get a lot of questions from me. I was going to save them all for the end, but it sounds like we're just doing them as we go. So, the previous, both of our partners, labor partners, had contracts that ran for the last 3 years. And they're now working on the terms of the previous contract. So, is it 21? When did the most recent collective bargaining agreements that went into effect go into effect? Was it 21 or 22?
21 to 24. The 21 to 24 school year.
Did you
Okay,
hear that,
so
Mark? 21.
Yeah, so it'd be 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24. Right. So I see the number jump up, and I was pretty proud to be able to pay. I was on the HCU team at the time. I was pretty proud to be able to offer a decent pay increase to everyone, but it wasn't that decent, right? So I mean, I see this line going up for payroll and for salaries and for associated costs. I see the line going up, and I understand that we paid everybody a little bit more. It didn't even come close to keeping pace with the rate of inflation. When the state continues to fund us at current service level myth that's not even an actual number, but the philosophy is, what's the minimum we can spend to keep doing what we're doing right now, not investing in. So, but I see the line go up. I see that we paid everybody a little bit more, but doesn't feel like we paid everybody that much more. It felt like, so am I wrong? Like, I see the line going up. Sorry, I'm pointing over here at my other computer. But I mean, it was 3 something, maybe 3%. So they weren't even tremendous pay increases. So I guess to Nancy's point earlier, as we're in this bargaining session now, I think we'd all like to see us pay our staff a little bit better with the rate of inflation, all kind of stuff. But like we barely had increases, and we already see this line going up dramatically. So just very disheartening.
Mark, I can tell you that when we settled for 21, 22, we added a new top step, which kind of helped that the little ramp right there a little bit. For our HCU partners, we implemented a wage study adjustments too that were super targeted. And we had a couple other areas too that we negotiated with them to increase just so that we could improve our hiring for sure. There are those things. And then again, as we move into 23, 24, we really are offering for staff, in addition to all of our activities going at full speed for students, we are offering for our staff who are covering for other staff and doing other work on top of their regular full-time job. They are getting additional wages as well, which is I think just a factor and kind of an outcome of what that is going to bring. But we didn't get funded any different to be able to do that. I guess that's the challenge.
It's in line with our strategic plan priorities. So.
I think I just have a couple more slides dedicated to enrollment. So, Sarah, thank you for driving. So this is enrollment by type, and I know it's a little bit disjointed in terms of scale. You can see the blue line is our overall enrollment, and I'm predicting that we're going to flatten out with our overall enrollment. But what you can see down below with our students with IEPs, they've also kind of gone down a little bit with enrollment, but our English learners have gone up as our school district is diversifying. So that, for us, makes a difference in our revenue. I know our services as well, but for our revenue, the blue represents a full weight for a student, which is about $10,000. And for our English learners, we receive a half a weight. And for our students with IEPs, we receive a full weight. So as one goes down and the other goes up, there's another just strange math problem when it comes to enrollment and our revenue. One more. Oh, this one's terrible to look at. It is. I almost didn't put it in, but I just wanted you guys to see again the difference in what's happening by percentage change. So you can see again the blue line is our total students in the percentage change, and this is just historical. It doesn't show any projections here. But then the students with IEPs, you can see it's a fairly significant dip, and then they're starting to increase again at the same rate as our EL, at least for 23-24. So just that experience creates a change for us in both our ability to serve students and how we're funded. All right, sneak peek at the biennial outlook. We have the governor's focus on accurate, not adequate necessarily, but accurate K-12 service level calculations. And that brings us to a historic $11.3 billion for K-12 for finance. So that's doing the same thing we're doing today for the upcoming out 2 years. One of the challenges that is in it for us is that the PERS employer rates for that biennial are anticipated to increase by an average of 4.08% for school districts in Oregon. It's all public employers, but for school districts, it's another 4%. So for us, that means that 11.3 accurate service level calculation won't quite be enough, and we'll still be looking at reductions at even that level. So again, just getting it out here in front of everyone so that you guys can speak to that when you're talking to our decision makers. Thank you, Kira. Just a couple more, I think. Next step, I'll bring another budget update next month. Brooke and I are going to begin the work for our integrated guidance, which is a requirement of the student investment account, but we really want to come at it with a holistic view of our strategic plan goals, and also be mindful of what's happening within the general fund, just our general operating budget. They can't function independently. It all comes together. So we'll be doing that work. Hope to be doing our staffing in March with some contingency planning. We won't likely know our final funding for K-12 until June 30th. That's what happened last biennium. It was terrible to wait so long, but it was wonderful to get funded at the level we did, so worth the wait there. And I'll be bringing a proposed budget to you guys in May that will, or April, late April, I think, that will include all funds, general fund and grant funds, all funds. Questions for me? Lots of information, more to come. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Can I just make one more comment, Michelle? As I think through where we are as a school district, I just wanted to share that last week I was doing an interview with a reporter who somehow set me up like, and here in Hillsboro, you're not doing better than other school districts. And my reaction to that was, thank you, and we're facing the financial hardships that districts across the state are facing, and we're not that much different. One of the differences for us is that we haven't settled a contract that we can't afford to pay, and we're not making giant layoffs in staff. That's a significant difference. So if we're getting good press for having a district that's been fiscally responsible and having a steady, an even keel over the years because of our stewardship of resources, that's good. But I do want to make the distinguish between the fact that I was there in part to talk about Brookwood and how it has air conditioning and is a safe and comfortable place to learn based on the fact that our voters voted for a bond and that we're able to make those types of facilities improvements that some districts have not been able to make. Some districts are looking at not being able to pass a bond and therefore having to close schools and abandon facilities. We're not in that spot. That's something that we really need to celebrate, and that has to do with us going out for bonds, having the support of our taxpayers, being a fully accredited school system. Then the second part of that is that we run a general fund budget and federal grant programs, and that's where we're finding hardship right now because of the factors that Michelle noted, the declining enrollment, the increased PERS costs, increased sub costs, all the things that cost more today because of inflation than they did 5 years ago. So I think we've been satisfied in Hillsboro that we're not falling off a cliff. I appreciate Michelle's transparency about our financial state today because we're making decisions internally that are impacting us today in our experience and how we deliver our programs. And I appreciate Mark surfacing the question about, are we talking about cutting staff? Today, we're doing everything that we can to protect this budget from impacting the classroom. And so our first conversation is not, no, let's go cut positions in schools. We are talking about things like freezing non-student contact positions with central office functions, or not watering our grass that's not a competition field, or freezing spending on things that we'd like to invest in, like upgrading our facilities with general fund dollars, or investing in new curriculum and new licenses for things. We do need to pause and call time out. So I just want to add those elements to the conversation because I appreciate the board's sensitivity to the experience of kids, and we're going to continue to try to protect that. And then second, we need to know the reality of what's happening and be using our voices to advocate collectively for more resources from the state when the session comes back around, because Hillsboro is not in a better position than everybody else when it comes to the general fund budget and the hardships that we're facing. So correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, on that way of thinking about it.
It's possible for us to also consider to come up with, if I ask for 5 categories of expenses that we could control and or not spend on, so that we could look at that as a potential remediation way to try to not touch the staff. So in other words, I would want to see a list of what expenditures we could, like, for example, like, okay, no, we shouldn't be going out and running and buying property right now. Totally got it. We probably, well, at least not right now. We should be happy with what we have. But there's got to be some things that we could look at where we could save some money, maybe not save it, but don't spend it.
Yeah.
That would keep us and keep the staff intact where it is, so that we don't negatively impact the really important student impact. Am I saying that right? I'm sorry. I've been struggling all day with my words, but.
No, to Michelle's credit and yours, that list has existed for years and we're always referencing it. So it's not just 5 items, but it's many. And right now we're starting the process of adding to that list all kind of available resources and deciding what to freeze, what to hold, what to.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Like what's a no-go, what's a freeze, what's a potential hold. And I think that would help us collectively to then understand where our options are.
Yeah. You are correct.
Besides moving to the point, because in my humble opinion, cutting teachers is not the answer. It's never the answer, because the moment you start doing that, then we cost ourselves something else in another area. It always happens that way. So
well, and the reason districts do it is because 83% of their budget is in people. So we're at that point where we're looking at the other.
Right. And the whole PERS, the whole situation with PERS and Oregon Leave is not just hitting the school district. That is big. That is big for us from a business standpoint, being a part of another state entity. That is big. We are having people leave their positions, which they have the right to do and we encourage them to do, but then what do I do with the work? And where does that go? And are we able to come and backfill? And the answer is no. Can't. So I'm trying to make you feel like you're not the only one. I don't know if that makes you feel better, but it is in your
We're seeing with our other district partners as well. So thank you. Mark has his hand raised.
Yeah, so many things. I I think paid leave Oregon is allowing people to have better outcomes and balance their work and their personal life in ways that they could not before. But I think as school boards, we are always on the lookout for unfunded mandates, and we kind of didn't see that one coming, I guess, or maybe not enough, didn't realize the full impact of what that kind of program was going to mean on the amount of substitutes we would need. So I'm grateful that people are able to get the time off that they need to manage their work-life balance, but I'm also aware that the state has imposed that as an unfunded mandate, essentially. Secondly, what I think I hear Nancy saying is, as board members, at least how I feel, is yes, that transparency into what are we thinking about to bring the budget into balance for this upcoming academic year that does not involve staffing reductions. So as a board, I think we're pretty well versed in the budget, but I also don't know that we understand the minutia to the team to the degree that the administrative team does. So at some point, a little more transparency on those kinds of things that we're going to have to make really hard decisions on in order to try to keep every person we currently have for the rest of the academic year. So, I'm looking forward to that. I know you're probably planning it. I'm looking forward to that transparency as we go forward. Because, as a board member, I wouldn't have thought, well, don't water fields that aren't competitive, but that makes complete sense. Right. It means maybe a few more weeds here and there, but I'd rather keep people in the building. So yes, looking forward to that. Thirdly, I guess lastly on this topic, I appreciate Michelle saying, we were encouraged by what this funding level came in at, June 30th at the very last second last time. But I remember us saying, that was still falling short of what we said the current or actual service level. I'm going with that. With our actual service level in Hillsboro was, we said that was going. What happened? Did I get muted there? Did you guys lose me for a second? All right. Can you hear me now? Oh, just noise. Can anybody hear me? Hand signal? Or voice? I can't hear y'all anymore.
I can hear you, Mark.
Yeah, I can't hear the boardroom. Can you?
I haven't heard anything from the boardroom in a while, no.
Yeah, I think the boardroom, I can't hear the boardroom, but Patrick can hear me and I can hear him. So I think the Zoom is still working, but we can't hear the board anymore. Somebody want to wave? Can you hear me? I think I can see Connor right now. Can you hear me?
I don't see them waving.
Yeah, so I think Jordan said.
They knew you were getting on your soapbox about unfunded mandates, so they
yeah.
shut you off.
Right. Oh yeah, they lost the phones. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna hold off on my rant for a little longer while we're getting the phones back.
Sounds good.
Maybe not rant. Points.
Yes. With conviction. Yeah.
I do think, and I will continue to say, our tech team does a great job with our hybridization of meetings.
They do. They do.
Generally. Yeah.
I've kind of almost wondered for these work sessions where we seldom get any audience visitors and it's mostly just informational. I've almost wondered if we shouldn't just do them entirely online. Because I don't know if it's worth having everyone come in, but we do.
I like seeing everybody. Yeah.
The tech team does a good job that you almost could if you needed to. So I guess you did during the pandemic before I joined the board, right?
Yeah, we did. Right. Yeah, that's right. We were excited to get back.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do the main meeting where you have public comments and
Correct.
do official business,
Yeah.
but these
Yeah, right, I
informational
see.
ones, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I just had a little bit of a sore throat, but I tested positive for COVID this morning.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh, I think I hear y'all. Can y'all hear us?
They're back.
Boardroom, can you hear us? No,
Let's
they're
see.
back briefly. Oh, I think they can hear us, but we
I
can't
think
hear
they
them.
can.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Oh,
hear
I
you.
can kind of hear you. Yeah, thanks.
It's a little low, but I think we're getting back.
Yeah, it's coming back a little bit.
Mark, you were waxing poetic and we couldn't hear you.
Well, you start talking about unfunded mandates, and they like to cut the audio off. It's just dumb. So yeah, I don't know how far I got, but yes, Paid Leave Oregon, and Michelle made the point that we were encouraged by the funding coming in at whatever 10.3, but I remember us saying in all of our advocacy work that was still low for Hillsboro. That wasn't going to meet our actual service level, so it was better than the state funding at 9.6 or whatever the first number thrown around was, and we were encouraged when it got to 10.3. But I also remember saying that doesn't even cover our bare minimum in Hillsboro. It probably covers a few districts' bare minimum, but doesn't cover ours. And now what we're seeing is that we were right. Like we were over expenditures for 23, 24, and we're out of balance for 24, 25. So it wasn't just us, trying to gaslight the legislature into giving us more money. We said in Hillsboro, I think it was 10.6, that we were going to be out of balance or not able to meet our actual service level if it wasn't 10.6. But 10.3 was better than 9.6, but also it wasn't enough for Hillsboro to continue. So I appreciate that the governor's office is looking at trying to find what the real current service level number is. But I also think, and I'll continue to say this in legislative advocacy meetings and whatnot, that 2008 in the financial crisis, it kind of made sense to put our mindset of how do we fund in a way that makes it so we don't have to do less than we did today, right? We can't improve things. We can't improve outcomes. We can't afford it in 2008 financial crisis. Every department had to cut. So what was the number that we need to get to at least keep doing what we did today? But we sort of stayed in that scarcity mindset while the economy kept growing. So that we continued to argue about what actual service level was compared to current service level. We spent too much time, I believe, trying to figure out what that number is, and not enough time figuring out how, as the economy was growing, how we invest in our students to provide better outcomes. So at least for the foreseeable future, it looks like Oregon's economy is going to continue to grow. That's what the revenue forecast shows. We have a new state economist, so we'll see how that goes. But I think we should be one of the focuses of our advocacy should be, great. Let's get the number for current service level accurate statewide, but also let's stop with this. What's the minimum amount we can do mentality, and figure out in a growing economy how we can invest in our kids. All right, soapbox over. My audio made it the whole way. I don't know.
It did. I heard you. Thank you, Mark. Any other questions? No? Thank you. So we have moving along, we have one action item, and that is to appoint Education Equity Advisory Committee members. We have anything else to add to nothing else? I think we all had a chance to look at this application. Through them, would anybody like to make a motion? Or have any questions for them?
The board of directors appoints the education equity advisory committee members as recommended by Susan.
Second, if it hasn't happened in the room.
Thank you. It has been moved by Director Lopez and seconded by Director Watson that the Board of Directors appoint the Education Equity Advisory Committee members as recommended by the superintendent. Is there any further discussion?
I don't see a list in our packet. I see all of the applications in our confidential folder, but will we sort of publish the list of people at some point?
No, Mark.
Sorry?
No, we don't.
So we have a board level committee that of mystery members? That feels a little weird.
No, we just don't list those names in the board packet or anything because, especially with that committee, it's a committee that we don't necessarily put those names in a packet of public information. If someone was to request, yes, but we don't, as with the other committees, we usually list or write those down in the board packet. And we don't do that with other committees either. We don't list their names in the packet. We don't publish their names in the packet. We don't put their applications in the packet or anything else.
Oh, with other board level committees, I'm thinking the CCAC and the budget committee, board members use the names of the people being nominated, and we often discuss candidacy and have to whittle down from 6 to 3 or something like that. So this seems very unusual to me as a board member that maybe we're not trying to obfuscate the names, but it feels like we are, and that is a concern for me.
I think this has a different process, Mark, than the other ones where the superintendent recommends them. So it's not like we select them as board members.
Right. It's
No, I
based on
agree.
the
Yes, it is. I understand the makeup of the committee is generally something that the superintendent and the equity officer work on and bring that slate of people to us. But so is every application that's in the confidential area going to be appointed?
We did not include all of the applicants forward. We just put put forward the names of those that made up the demographics to ensure that we had correct representation of all of our. So there were other people who have applied to be a part of it, but those applications were not put forward. It was just the ones that were moving forward.
Okay, so in our board area, we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So, Mark, let me say,
13.
for
Are all
clarity's sake, what happened the last time?
Yeah, I felt like we talked about it a little bit. I guess I don't remember. It was also, well, we had to act pretty quickly because it was a governor's mandate and we had to stand the committee up pretty quickly. So I don't know that what happened last time should be the norm because I remember it happening with some sense of urgency.
This is round 3. The first one was a faster process. The second round was last year where we do keep names on a slide. And then you were given the names of those on the slide at the August retreat of those that were moving forward. But this is the same process that we ran last year.
Of the ones that were continuing.
The ones that are continuing were not in the board packet because they have a 2-year commitment.
So the 13 applications that we can see, all of those people are being seated, or is it a subset of them being seated?
All of those 13 are being seated.
In addition to ones we saw names in a pack in the board retreat slide.
In addition to the ones you saw last year that are still fulfilling their 2-year obligation.
Okay, so as a board member, I could look at that slide from the previous, what I'm getting at is, as a board member, I could find the names of all of these members of this committee because it is a board committee. I just got to do some work. I got to look in this folder. I got to go find the slide from the last thing, but it is knowable.
Rose, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it is.
And
I apologize.
sorry, and we've chosen not, well, the people are continuing, we're on a slide so that's in the presentation, but we're making a conscious choice not to let the members of our community know who these new members are going to be.
Well, Mark, all the nods in the room are that this is the way you've done it in the past.
Okay.
Their names the names were out on August.
So the names were out in August, but for whatever reason, we didn't make that deadline this year. Am I correct?
Now, we moved it over to here to be able to apply, because people wanted a 30 days to review the applications.
Okay. Did you hear that, Mark?
Yeah, this feels different, but I'll let other people talk.
Maybe this is something to revisit if you want to look at it, Mark, to see if we have to change something about the process.
So, Matt, you recognized?
Yes, go ahead, Nazir.
Okay. So the list of who serves on our Education Equity Advisory Committee is publicly posted on the Hillsboro School District website. So I imagine that would be updated when we pass this proposal. What might be helpful is with this Curriculum Advisory Committee, we have a list oftentimes of the positions and which ones are expiring and which ones are continuing in a little grid, a table when we appoint new members. And so it might be helpful to have the same for the Equity Committee so that we know who's on it and who's continuing and who's leaving. So maybe just take a look at what we already do with the CCAC as far as providing board members easy awareness of who's volunteering that way, because we want to be sure to be able to thank them and tell them we appreciate them if we see them. So yeah.
That was the point I was going to make as well. We do that for the budget committee, we do that for the CCAC, and I think that's what Mark was alluding to. So yeah, it does seem a little off that we don't have that same list of expired terms and receipts that we for the AC that the other two.
Yes, and I hear what you're saying. Part of Senate Bill 732 is to protect those that are in the committee. So I don't feel like it is something we are trying to hide. And I can definitely, we can work on something that is internally versus who's coming in and has 2 years. That's easy. Because I have that internal document myself. I just have not shared that. But there is a level of Senate Bill 732 that we try to protect those that are involved in the committee, because the work they are doing can be perceived as very sensitive. And so I want to work to ensure that they have their safety, but also provide for you the level of information that you need in order for you to feel comfortable with appointing the recommendation that Superintendent Ryman has.
This has been the same classes years prior. And any other questions? Yeah, Rose, can you call the roll, please?
Jean Kim.
Aye.
Erica Lopez.
Aye.
Patrick McGuire.
Aye.
Nancy Thomas.
Aye.
Monique Ward.
Opposed.
Mark Watson.
Aye.
Sorry, Yvette Fontana.
Aye. Motion carries. Next up is discussion time. As a refresher to our student reps, this is going to be a temporary speak and share anything that you'd like with us, or or the admin team. We're just going to go ahead and start with Gwen. Is there anything you'd like to share? I don't actually. Was very interesting. Oh, can you speak up? Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I forgot about the.
I just thought it was interesting, I guess, how the budget graphs kind of just showed how much our like enrollment truly is going down. I never really knew that, I guess, as a student. I mean, that's really amazing. Thank you.
Not much to add about, what was said here. Yes, I don't, yep, I think everything is all right.
I feel like some of the things mentioned, like the IEP slide, are kind of not as controllable. I'm an IEP student myself, and there's no way to specifically fully get them because it's kind of one of those things where you either have one or you don't. It doesn't influence where you go too much, kind of thing. Like I can have blonde or brown hair. It's kind of like that to me. That's what I see it as. I think a lot of things aren't as bad as they look.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, everybody. First is an order of business from Rose. Can everybody please take a look at the superintendent's committees? Yes, we don't have the board members signed up to represent from those committees. And Rose is sharing a spreadsheet that allows you the opportunity to sign up for work that you might be interested in. Second, really positive in-service week. Our focus is on core content, social emotional learning, and helping students develop their academic language. The vibe coming back in, for lack of a better term, so positive this summer as we created new teachers, new staff, and then welcome staff back into schools. Same is true the first week of school. We had boosters and signs and celebrations out front, taking special care of parents dropping off kindergartners for the first time, perhaps, and having a little breakfast so that they could drop off their student and feel safe to shed a tear as they did so. Shout out to Beth and our communications team about the media opportunities that were present at our schools. We had all the different news networks and reporters covering the first days of school, so getting really good press for our school district and creating that sense of confidence in our community about sending kids to school in Hillsboro. We did survive a heat wave that was unpredictable in the first week of school. Reedville had trouble with their air conditioning, but had fans and water thanks to our facilities folks. And we had a cool and safe environment for students to come to school. And again, I think we need to credit our community for supporting our high quality facilities over and over again in Hillsboro. I'm excited about the board goals. One of the board goals overlaps with one of my goals, which is advocacy at the legislature and being on the same page about how we communicate our priorities. And I appreciate the board's focus on that this school year and the conversation tonight. Point of pride for me, a shuttle system that allows students to access programming at each of our different high schools. And this year we have a record 279 students boarding the shuttle and going to access a different program, like a CTE program in a different high school. And we had pioneers in that work who were brave enough to go to another high school to take auto tech, but it's not normal for high schoolers to feel comfortable going to a rival high school. And we have created a culture where that's possible. So thank you for that, for supporting that work. Thank you for a good turnout to the intro to our new school-based health center at Hillsboro High School. We have elected officials and board members there. Again, shout out to Beth and her collaboration. We got the second school-based health center to one of our high school campuses. I will be making appointments with you all this month and next month. Also, in preparation for an opportunity in October for us to welcome elected officials and host them as a board at W.L. Henry to talk about the upcoming legislative session. I've been reaching out and making either calls or personal meetings with our Oregon senators and representatives to introduce myself if they haven't met me yet, and offer myself as a resource to them as they get ready for the legislative session. I want our legislators to have access to us when it comes to questions about public school and hear the facts from us. And we'll all have a chance to dialogue and eat chicken nuggets together at WL Henry in October. And that'll start our relationship, I think, with our legislators in support of the legislative session through November, December, and January. Put us in a good position to all be on the same page in this region about how we advocate for schools. And just a reminder that Michelle and I especially talk about this all the time and our resources to you. So if you're hearing talk on the street in different venues about the upcoming session or the politics school funding right now, please reach out to us. Because we've got a lot of information that's developed in the legislative advocacy stance that should bring to you all. The day-to-day we're available to have this conversation, and we're, just this morning, we were talking about the PERS increase, and does the governor's office fully understand that that's happening? And yes, they do, because of the advocacy of COSA. That information came to light after the governor shared her initial budget on 17. The PERS info came after that. And so we're in a constant state of sort of helping our leaders adjust what they're advocating for when we go into the session. So thank you for doing the same. Thanks. See you around.
Thank you. We're going to go with our board members online. Patrick?
Yeah, well, happy new school year, everyone. Thanks to everyone in the central office here who's done something to make a difference as we get the school year going. We appreciate all your work. And of course, we especially appreciate our teachers and teaching assistants who are directly working with students, and principals, and really all of our employees who make a difference. So I think it's going to be a great school year. And I know a lot of us on the board are looking forward to having a chance to get out and visit some of the schools this year.
Should I go next?
Yeah, you're on Wednesday. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Cool. Yes, great to be back to school. Thanks to the communications team for getting out all of the great word about us coming back. Thanks to bus driver Ted for putting the district's best foot forward, and the whole transportation department, HCU, everybody, HEA, everybody. Welcome back to the classrooms. Looking forward to the event in October for sure, and looking forward to getting back to the bargaining table and helping to ensure. So, Rose, if you don't, I mean, I'll continue on the HEA bargaining team, and if I'm not on the long range planning committee, you can put me on there, or maybe please send that link out for the committee assignments. So it's at the top part inbox. We don't have to search for it. So that'd be great. So I hope to continue on those two committees, and hope to, ensure that every employee in the district makes more, and that every employee in the district who wants to continue to be employed can continue to be employed. So that's my primary goal of bargaining, is to make sure everybody makes more, and to still have as many of them who want to be here to be able to stay. And I look forward to the future budget updates from Michelle and her team. It's one of the most important things the board does. And I understand that we have some challenges ahead of us, and challenges different from recent boards. So I'm sure our board is ready to rise to that challenge. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, this not much, but just to say, welcome back, everyone. It's good to see everyone again. And Michelle, again, thank you for the budget updates. I too look forward to hearing about that.
Thanks. You. Eric? I went to the opening for the mobile health center at Ohio, which is really great and wonderful to see how really good the village is patient to get these projects across the line that help our students and give them access. And even that they would even use, I think you mentioned they would use the space in here for like food therapy, which I thought was access that exactly in school. And also just like wishing everybody a good new year and to have grace for one another, because we're in a transition from summer, fall. I feel really sad. Say goodbye to the sun. And I think we're going to be, creating a lot of structure. But there's just so many things that we should be. So just hoping everybody has grace for everything.
Yeah, welcome everyone back to the school year.
It's good to see everybody. Welcome back to the school year. It was quite fun going past the elementary that's right at the street, Hazelwood, No, the other one. Next to Hazelwood. Which, sorry, I get them all confused, but we're waving at everybody and stopping, and it's really fun. Just want to let you all know that, well, a couple of weeks back, I was with the Oregon School Board Association at that board meeting. That was actually, I take that back, that was August 9th, 10th, and 11th. I'm losing time. Probably because this weekend is their retreat. Went off again. I am happy to say that I truly believe that the OSBA has turned the corner. They went through quite a year, as many of you know, and I think that we have turned the corner. We have found our leader, and she is the current interim, and we have now voted her or appointed her to be the new one, where they're working on all the finals behind that. I was completely 100% behind that decision. She's an incredible leader. It was very disappointing to see that they even had to go for that. But I can tell you that in all honesty, I don't think that'll ever happen again. I think that I think we learned a lot from that. But they are really, truly moving forward, and it's really good to see. We do have some budget concerns that they are dealing with as well. And then in retreat, we will work on what's going to happen for the next couple of years, how we're going to take care of the finances. And so there'll be more to give you, hopefully in October, because, well, the next time we meet, probably in October. And I'll have a full report for the board, but I just wanted to let you know that it's been a busy summer for OSBA. I will say that I was honored that they asked me to take on a leadership position on the board, but I had to decline. I honestly I cannot add anything else to my plate at this time. And it was really important that I was going to be able to focus as much on this original commitment, which is Hillsboro. So I had to decline that, but I still support them behind the scenes. So I just wanted you all to know that. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Erica, for all of the convincing. And I appreciate it. That's all.
Thank you. I wanted to just say thank you to having a team for all the work that you do. Thank you, Michelle, for that presentation. Also, student reps. Exciting to see you, Abe. Welcome to your first in-person meeting. And I want to say also thank you to welcome our teachers and our students back, and hopefully this is a good year. Just as always, we need kids grow and learn what we're here for, and to see them flourish is the best thing. And it's always important that or the decisions we make is going to impact our students for the long run. So we stay important. So thank you. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Good job, Yvette. You're